sure that the light's on your microphone when you speak, and to speak directly into your microphones. And I know that we're recording and live streaming, so I'd like to welcome you and call to order the October 11th Port Orchard City Council regular meeting. And in the actions we're about to take this evening, I'd like to ask us that whether or not we're raising the bar, are we honoring the past but not living in the past, are we building connections with our outside partners, and is the decision-making process positively impacting diversity, equity, and inclusion? Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I was proudly wearing my Mariners pullover all day long, and I took it off when I came to the meeting. It's an unfortunate turn of events. So, there's a published agenda. Are there any amendments to this evening's agenda? Councilmember Trineri, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add an item to the consent agenda, which would be item D, excusing Councilman Diener for personal reasons and excusing Councilman Clausen for business reasons.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Trineri, second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe to excuse Councilmember Diener for personal reasons and Councilmember Clausen for business reasons. Any discussion of that excusal? Hearing none, all in favor of adding that to the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that has been added to the consent agenda. All right, any other proposed amendments this evening? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve? Thank you.
Mayor, I move to approve the amended consent agenda.
How about the entire agenda?
The entire agenda as presented.
All right.
Seconded.
There's a motion by Councilmember Rosa Pepe, a second by Councilmember Trineri to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the agenda has been set for this evening. We are to our first citizen comment period. It's for anything that is on this evening's agenda. Anyone wishing to address the City Council, please step to the microphone, and you would have 3 minutes. Anyone on the line, Janine, you would use the raise your hand feature, and the clerk would bring you into the meeting.
No one has raised their hands yet.
Okay, we have a second citizen comment period at the end of the meeting. We are now to our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Go ahead.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Cacciardi, a second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe to approve the amended consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda passes. Chief Brown, you have an audience.
No, they're not for me.
Okay.
Mayor and Council, I appreciate the opportunity for us to continue to do these commissioning ceremonies publicly. They're important not only for us when we take our oath, but to do it in front of community members and our elected. So it's my honor to bring up our 2 newest employees, Alexis Sarter, who's starting as a lateral peace officer with us, and then Deputy Chief Dan Schoonmaker. So if you guys want to come up, and as is becoming our tradition and is also very important to us, we read, if you guys just want to stand up there, we read through the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics. This is something that we live every day in addition to our mission and our values. So as a law enforcement officer, my fundamental duty is to serve the community, to safeguard lives and property, to protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence or disorder, and to respect the constitutional rights of all to liberty, equality, and justice. I will keep my private life unsullied as an example to all and will behave in a manner which does not bring discredit to me or my agency. I will maintain courageous calm in the face of danger, scorn, or ridicule, develop self-restraint, and be constantly mindful of the welfare of others. Honest in thought and deed, in both my personal and official life, I will be exemplary in obeying the law of the land and the regulations of my department. Whatever I see or hear of a confidential nature, or that is confided to me in my official capacity, will be kept ever secret unless revelation is necessary in the performance of my duty. I will never act officiously or permit personal feelings, prejudices, political beliefs, aspirations, animosities, or friendships to influence my decisions. With no compromise for crime, with relentless prosecution of criminals, I will enforce the law courteously and appropriately without fear or favor, malice or ill will, never employing unnecessary force or violence, and never accepting gratuities. I recognize the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith, and I accept it as a public trust to be held so long as I am true to the ethics of the police service. I will never engage in acts of bribery, nor will I condone such acts by other police officers. I will cooperate with all legally authorized agencies and their representatives in the pursuit of justice. And I know that I alone am responsible for my own standard of professional performance and will take every opportunity to enhance and improve my level of knowledge and competence. I will constantly strive to achieve these objectives and ideals, dedicating myself to my chosen profession of law enforcement. I also want to just say a little bit about these two. I know that I've made a commitment to our community, to this council, and to our team that sits behind us. Even when we're running short, we're going to make sure that we bring the right people. And these are the right people. Alexis is a longtime resident of Port Orchard. She's a graduate of South Kitsap. She actually wanted to hire on with us about 2.5 years ago, I think, and unfortunately, we were in the midst of working on some things and we were not able to get there. The path that she chose instead was to get into the business. She was hired by the Lacey Police Department and has served honorably in Lacey for 1.5 years. But she chose to come back and work with us and be part of our team because she is a member of this community. She wants to serve this community. So I thank you very much for being here, being the right person to be on your team, or this team. Deputy Chief Dan Schoonmaker has got a long and illustrious career. 27 years in Southern California, where he retired as the Assistant Chief of Westminster PD in Orange County. He then left there and spent 4 years as the police chief in Poulsbo, where he actually hired me as his deputy chief. So it's an incredibly honorable day for me to be able to commission a longtime mentor of mine as my deputy chief. And he's been here for about a month now and has already become a valuable member of our team. And again, it's an honor for me to have him here and have both of them here. So we'll go ahead with our oath. Go ahead and raise your right hands. I state your name.
I, Alexis Berger,
I, Dan Schoonmaker, having been duly appointed as a police officer
having been duly appointed as a police officer
and duly appointed as deputy chief for the city of Port Orchard, Washington,
for the city of Port Orchard, Washington,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
perform the duties of my appointment
perform the duties of my department
as prescribed by law
as prescribed by law
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
and that I will support and enforce
and that I will support and enforce
the ordinances of the city of Port Orchard,
the ordinances of the city of Port Orchard,
the laws and constitution of the state of Washington,
the laws and constitution of the city of Washington,
the Constitution of the United States of America.
the Constitution of the United States of America.
Congratulations. I do want to thank the extended team members that are family as well, and we had a number of our teammates come in. So I'm going to step out because we need to sign some things, but I'll be back in a second. So again, thank you very much.
All right, we'll give them just a moment.
Sergeant
all.
Sergeant Maine, it's nice to see you again. Thank you.
I'd stick around, but all city counciled out with other cities.
All right, we're on to our business items. The first of which is item A, adoption of a resolution amending the city's policies and procedures for processing public records request to incorporate body-worn camera video processing. Ms. Archer, this is you.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, before you this evening is a resolution amending your existing policies and procedures for processing public records requests to incorporate the recent use of body-worn camera video equipment by your police department and to establish policies and procedures for processing requests specific to the video recordings that are taken through the body-worn cameras. By statute, the city is allowed to charge a reasonable fee associated with the cost, the administrative cost that you incur in processing body-worn camera video. Body-worn camera video processing includes blurring or redacting certain images, and the images that we are allowed to redact are listed by statute, including, for example, the interior of a private home, certain body parts, those things that you would typically expect to be remain private. So by this policy, the city is going to charge a cost associated with a per minute redaction rate for your public records officer in the police department who will be handling this task. Agencies who are charging a reasonable cost are expected to have analyzed the actual cost associated with redaction. We are piggybacking on studies done by larger agencies with far more resources, including the City of Spokane, the City of Bellingham, City of Seattle. A number of those larger agencies have undertaken a study to ascertain how many minutes it takes to redact body-worn camera footage. So using that matrix and those studies, we have determined a rate, and that is set out in the policy, and that will be communicated to requesters prior to release of the video, and costs will be paid, with the exception of individuals who get the videos for free by statute, and those are also identified in the new policy. So I'm happy to stand for any questions on the policy, but again, you're adopting a revision to your existing policies to reflect this issue.
Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution amending the city's policies and procedures for processing public records requests to include procedures for processing body-worn camera recordings and establishing associated fees.
I'll second that.
A motion by Councilmember Chardy, a second by Councilmember Terneri. As you're aware, 6 months or so ago, you funded the purchase of those body-worn cameras. We're in the process of implementing and getting those out on the streets, and we need to have these policies and procedures in place before we go live with that. So, and what Ms. Archer spoke to was pretty clear, but any questions on the matter? Go ahead.
I'm sorry I didn't reach out to email you. I didn't think about it, but there on page 17, I believe there's a scrivener's error under 8 exceptions where it says additional statutes. It says statures.
Thank you. Yes, that is a scrivener's error.
And I was just curious, it seems a very exhaustive and impressive list, and I agree with all the policy. I am curious why more exemptions weren't listed from like 4256.
So these are the specific exemption listed in the section 240 relating specifically to body-worn cameras.
Okay.
So that's it. It's later in the existing policy, which I believe a courtesy copy was attached. Your existing policy lists the remaining exemptions as they state in the statute, but
Okay.
it would be impossible for us to list all the other statutes that also are incorporated by reference.
It's a very impressive list of exemptions.
Right. Thank you.
Other questions?
Just a comment, Mayor. Thank you for your work on this. I know the council, I hope I speak for everybody, we can't get there soon enough to get these on the street, and it's only been more of a financial issue than a need, a want-to issue. So thank you for your work on this so we can move forward.
Very close. Definitely before the end of the year, if probably December-ish. We're training on there's new tasers that go with this as part of the equipment, and so there's training going on for that, but we're close. Other questions? Okay, if not, you'll be voting on the adoption of a resolution amending the city's policies and procedures for processing public records requests related to body-worn camera video processing. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. We're to item B, adoption of a resolution approving a contract with Parametrics, Inc. for the sewer lift station controls upgrade project. Public Works Director Lang.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. The City Public Works Department has identified a need to upgrade lift station controls to better monitor and maintain its lift stations. To fund this work, the city applied for and received a Public Works Board loan memorialized at contract number C090-21. The assistance of a consultant with expertise in sewer lift station design and rehabilitation to design the upgrades is vital to this project. On June 30th, 2022, pursuant to the city's procurement procedure policies adopted as resolution number 036-22 as amended, the city's Public Works Department established a list of qualified consultants for the project from the MRSC 2022 consultant roster for the main category engineering services and subcategory pump station design and rehabilitation, municipal sewer systems. On June 30th, 2022, the City Public Works Department selected 4 qualified consultants from the MRSC 2022 consultant roster, and after reviewing the statements of qualifications and scoring the consultants on July 5th, 2022, based upon overall qualifications, the City Public Works Department selected Parametrics, Inc. as a responsible and responsive consultant for the project. Public Works staff met with Parametrics Incorporated 3 times on July 1st, 2022, August 2nd, 2022, and August 30th, 2022 to clarify the project understanding, the associated contract terms and scope and fees. Parametrics, Inc. provided the City's Public Works Department with a viable proposal on September 16th, 2022. Upon completion of the bidder's checklist on September 26, 2022, the City Public Works Department recommends the City Council approve of Parametrics, Inc. for the sewer lift station control upgrades project. Staff recommends adoption of resolution number 098-22, thereby approving contract number C112-22 with Parametrics, Inc. for the sewer lift station controls upgrades project consultant project in an amount not to exceed $195,220 and documenting the professional service.
Member Lucarelli.
I move to adopt resolution number 098-22, approving contract number C112-22 with Parametrics, Inc. for the sewer lift station controls upgrades project in an amount not to exceed $195,220 and documenting the professional services procurement procedures.
Second?
By Councilmember Lucarelli, second by Councilmember Rosapepe. Is there any questions of Mr. Lang on this matter?
Maybe just one question. You know, when we received that loan, there was an anticipated body of work to be done on the different lift stations. With this now coming in at roughly 25% of that amount, is that kind of on pace for kind of what was anticipated? Do you know?
Until they do the site visits and actually get a conditional assessment on each lift station, because they have different control panels of varying ages, that'll be the determining factor.
There wasn't a kind of an idea of what that total scope of work may be back when we applied?
A best guess.
Yeah, it was a best guesstimate. And it's not a full lift station rebuild, it's just the control panels and the floats and the transducers and stuff like that.
Other questions?
If I may, there's also a gen set included for one of the lift stations.
Oh, that is true. And that was Utilities Manager Jackie Brown providing that comment.
Sorry.
God.
Where is she?
It came from the sky. So, that's right. We have a generator for one of the lift stations also. Other questions? All right. You'll be voting on a resolution approving a contract with Parametrics, Inc. for the sewer lift station controls upgrade project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the contract has been approved. Ms. Archer, do you want to pitch hit? Oh, no, here he comes. We'll just all say we've been waiting. Been waiting about 10 minutes now.
That's great. I've only been gone 7.
We just got to your item. All right, we're to item C. Adoption of a resolution authorizing an interlocal cooperative purchase agreement with the Arizona Department of Administration. Chief Brown.
Okay. Port Orchard Police Department has historically purchased patrol
Chief, could you just get that microphone just a touch closer?
By September 14, 2022, and all requests need to be backed by an approved budget. The City of Port Orchard will not approve its biennial budget until December 2023. This circumstance prevents the police department from utilizing DES to replace several aging vehicles in its fleet for an additional 15 to 24 months. Pursuant to the provisions of RCW 39.24, the City of Port Orchard may enter into intergovernmental cooperative purchasing agreements with other public agencies to cooperatively purchase or acquire supplies, equipment, material, and services. Staff conducted research and identified a purchasing cooperative in Arizona that meets the needs of the city. The Arizona Department of Administration is a governmental agency that hosts a purchasing cooperative to assist public agencies across the country in reducing the cost of purchased goods and services through pooling the purchasing power of public agencies nationwide. Similar to RCW 39.34, the Arizona Revised Statutes Article 10, Intergovernmental Procedure, authorizes cooperative purchasing for public procurement units, including agencies that are outside of Arizona. Entering into an intergovernmental agreement with the Arizona Department of Administration will allow the police department to purchase patrol vehicles on time and within budget. Participation in the intergovernmental agreement will not cancel the agreement with DES and will provide an additional option for all city departments. This is a no-cost agreement that will be automatically renewed annually until terminated by either party. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt a resolution authorizing the City of Port Orchard to enter into an interlocal purchasing agreement with the Arizona Department of Administration.
Councilmember Trenary.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the City of Port Orchard to enter into a interlocal purchasing agreement with the Arizona Department of Administration.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Trenary, a second by Councilmember Cacciardi. And Chief, not only are we going to save time, I understand that these vehicles might cost us less money also. Is that still deemed to be true?
We still believe so, yes.
So it's possible we might going to save a little bit of money and get them much faster. So Councilmember Rosepepe?
And Chief, this doesn't stop us from using the Washington State contracts.
No, this is just an additional.
As we do budget.
Correct. This is just an
So
additional
this is-
option.
It's a win-win all the way around.
Yes, sir.
Gives us another tool. Councilmember Trenary?
Chief, what's the turn time on this from order to receipt?
Well, it's less than the 9 months that we currently experience through Washington State.
Thank you.
And in this scenario, because of the problems that are happening out there, it could have been 2 years.
Correct. Yeah, it would be ordering in 2024.
So will Councilmember Cucciardi have to go down and retrieve the vehicles in between the, possible round of golf?
And we can probably discuss options, sure.
Interesting that the DES put that deadline on there, because I would think that most governmental agencies like us are in the
Exactly.
midst of, I suppose someone could be in the middle of a biennium, but it's bizarre. So just,
Yeah, I use a different word than interesting, but it was a conundrum for sure when we had 4 days and we didn't have budget authority to purchase vehicles. So we're fortunate that there is another option.
Crazy.
Well, and the state's biennial budget is opposite of us. So it worked perfectly for the state's budget, but local government, yes, it handcuffed us.
Which is interesting because Seattle made the news because they just started their budget process just like we are starting. So they're probably in the same boat.
They may be, yes.
Other questions? Comments? All right, you'll be voting to adopt a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental cooperative purchasing agreement with the Arizona Department of Administration. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the agreement is approved. We're to item D, adoption of a resolution authorizing payment of relocation benefits for Venture Charter, Inc. for the Bay Street Pedestrian Pathway Project. Ms. Archer, this is you.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, before you this evening is a resolution authorizing the payment of relocation benefits for Venture Charter Incorporated. This is for the Bay Street Pedestrian Pathway Project. The history here is lengthy and I will not belabor it, but you recall that you recently purchased a parcel of property located along Bay Street for your Bay Street Pedestrian Pathway Project. The purchase of that structure displaced an existing business, which is Venture Charters Incorporated. The displacement of that business requires that you pay relocation and reestablishment benefits to the business in accordance with the Uniform Relocation Act and Washington's equivalent. Those benefits are going to come to you for approval in two facets. One is what you're seeing this evening, which is a request to pay for moving expenses, and these are specific to the moving of business-associated equipment that was housed at the structure that you previously purchased. The second request for payment will come to you in the near future, but possibly by the end of this month, for what is referred to as reestablishment benefits. And those are separately governed under the Uniform Relocation Act and have a separate bucket of entitlement as to your relocatees. So we'll talk about that. I'm only mentioning it this evening so you're not caught off guard that there will be another request coming to you. But this evening, we're looking exclusively at the moving expenses. In anticipation of some of your questions, the city has already paid certain relocation benefits for the residents that was at this location and the occupants and owners of the residence. So when a building is used for dual purposes in this manner, we handle both sides of that separately, and there is an entitlement on both sides of the equation. So thus far, you have paid to purchase the structure. You've paid for alternative housing, relocation housing for the owners of that property. You've paid moving expenses and related relocation benefits for the residents. And then you've paid associated relocation assistance, including inspection fees and other things that a relocatee in Washington State and in the United States is entitled to under the law. Tonight, we're dealing with that business, the one business that was housed at this structure that is entitled to relocation benefits. So the amount up for request this evening is $7,743.84, and the attachments to the agenda item describe the elements that make up that number. And I'm happy to answer any remaining questions.
Councilmember Chang.
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize the payment of $7,743.84 for eligible relocation moving expenses for Venture Charters, Inc. as part of the Bay Street Pedestrian Pathway Project.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Chang, a second by Councilmember Rosapepe. Further questions of Ms. Archer on this matter?
Thank you for anticipating the questions. That was very nicely done.
Not a problem.
All right, with no further questions, we'd be voting on the adoption of a resolution authorizing payment of relocation benefits for Venture Charter, Inc. for the Bay Street Pedestrian Pathway Project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? The resolution passes. For item E, adoption of a resolution authorizing a purchase with N.L. Curtis for 25 sets of forced entry tools. Chief Brown, this is you.
Thank you. In 2022, the Port Orchard Police Department conducted an examination of the tools provided to its patrol officers that would allow the forced entry into various structures. Forced entries are generally conducted to save lives during critical incidents such as fires, active shootings, and natural disasters. The examination determined that the tools in use were limited and not sufficient for immediate availability in the field. Staff conducted research and determined that utilizing forced entry tools identical to those used by the fire service would allow for cross-training and the immediate deployment of these critical tools during emergency situations. The police department identified Ellen Curtis as an approved vendor for the desired entry tools, along with a corresponding National Purchasing Partners NPP contract, PS 20015-1910. The city has executed a master purchasing agreement with NPP consistent to allow the city to utilize contracts procured and hosted by NPP. Consistent with the city's procurement policies and procedures, staff reviewed the procurement process utilized by NPP for this contract to confirm the city's procurement requirements were met and obtained necessary documentation from NPP and the vendor regarding procurement. On October 6, 2022, Police Department staff requested a quote from Ellen Curtis consistent with the NPP contract PS 20015-1910. On October 6, 2022, Ellen Curtis provided a quote of $12,507.49, applicable tax and shipping included, which is consistent with NPP contract rates. Department is budgeted for 23 commissioned peace officers. The purchase of 25 sets of forced entry tools is recommended to account for those that may be damaged by use or other factors. The proposed purchase can be absorbed by the current 2021-2022 Police Department budget authority. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt a resolution authorizing the purchase of 25 sets of forced entry tools from Ellen Curtis through NPP contract PS 20015-1910 for a total purchase price of $12,507.49, applicable tax and shipping included.
Councilmember Cacciardi.
Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the purchase of 25 sets of forced entry tools from LN Curtis for a total purchase price of $12,507.49, applicable tax and shipping included.
Second.
By Councilmember Cacciardi, a second by Councilmember Lucarelli. Any questions or comments for the chief?
Clarification, is this coming to us because it's over $10,000? Was that that previous limit?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm just wondering if maybe this isn't something we should look at again, just with I hate to hamstring our departments. So this is part of their overall operating budget that we have to wait and delay over something that's just so maybe at some point we look at what that purchasing level is, and $12,000 isn't what it used to be.
And as long as it's in budget.
Creating delay.
Yeah.
It's already been budgeted for. Just maybe a discussion we should have. If you want to bring some maybe recommendations forward, that might be something we could
I
do
know
to
that,
be a little more nimble for our team.
I'll make a note. Noah's not here tonight, but I know that Rebecca's been working on some stuff. It's just budget and other things.
Absolutely.
If it's not on fire, sometimes it doesn't get
fire,
dealt with it.
And I am working with Heidi Draper, the procurement officer, to bring some procurement policy modifications as to your change order threshold. And so I think that conversation is happening, and that's helpful feedback. So we'll incorporate that into that conversation.
Okay, so I'm going to scratch my note because you're on it.
You're on it. Thank you.
So I knew there was some work going on today, so you know where it was at. So other comments or questions? That's a good point. You know, as things get more expensive and if they're in the budget, I know our purchasing policies are less than what are allowed by state law. You know, they're more restrictive. All right, with that, you'll be voting on a resolution authorizing the purchase of forced entry tools for the police department. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the purchase has been approved. Mr. Bond is online. He wasn't feeling well this evening, so he didn't want to share. So he's going to join us from the speakers. And the next item is adoption of a resolution granting final plat approval for McCormick West Division 12, Phase 2. Mr. Bond.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of council. How's my volume? Can you hear me okay?
Hear you just great, but maybe Janine could add you so we can see your face.
Oh, I just have to turn on my camera.
Okay, never mind.
We know who he is.
All right. Before the City Council tonight is a resolution granting final plat approval for McCormick West Division 12 Phase 2. The final plat for Division 12 Phase 2 of McCormick West creates 88 single-family residential lots and 14 tracts. The applicant has installed or bonded for roadway illumination, roads, sidewalks, landscaping, water and sewer, and storm drainage improvements, and the city has received acceptable bonds guaranteeing completion of any improvements not yet completed. Streets within the final plat are for public use and will be accepted into the city's road system. The applicant has proposed a dedication of right-of-way through warranty deed to the city of Port Orchard for Glen Eagle Avenue Southwest that will provide a connection from the existing Glen Eagle Avenue Southwest right-of-way to the newly constructed roads that provide access to McCormick West. This proposed dedication of right-of-way is fully described and mapped as attachment 08A and 08B. The staff recommendation is to approve a resolution as presented granting final plat approval for McCormick West. And I did just want to provide further description of the location of this area. This is the newest area of McCormick West, and it is the closest portion of McCormick West. If you head west on Glen Eagle from McCormick Woods Drive, you'll cross through some forested areas. And then once you get to the clearing, you are in McCormick West Division 12 Phase 2. And of course, this is a legacy project from Kitsap County with preliminary plats going back to 2008 and SEPA decisions going back to 2006. Thank you.
Councilmember Lucarelli.
I move to adopt a resolution as presented granting final plat approval for McCormick West, Division 12, Phase 2.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lucarelli, second by Councilmember Rosapepe. Any questions of Mr. Bond? Councilmember Rosapepe.
Haven't been by there, Nick, haven't been by there this week, but do you know when the road is opening from Glen Eagle into McCormick West?
Well, that's a good question. The road will become public as soon as these documents are recorded, so it will be a public road. However, I know there, for security reasons, the developer has been monitoring access in and out of that subdivision, and I think until people are living there, that it will probably be gated off in the evenings. But I can certainly confirm that and get back to you.
I just was wondering when the public would have access to it. Obviously, a lot of people in that area are curious, and if you don't travel up to the roundabout, you don't see it. So, thank you. I'd like if you can give me any, just a quick email, be great.
Will do.
Councilmember Cacciardi.
Yeah, just one question under that, kind of the attachments when it talks about the dedication of right-of-way for the Glen Eagle Avenue Southwest. What's the relevancy of that to the rest of this body of work?
So that connection was a requirement of the preliminary plat for all of the McCormick West project. However, that is a piece of land that is under separate ownership from the entitlements for McCormick West. So it is an off-site dedication as opposed to a dedication within the plat boundaries.
Got it. Okay.
Other questions? Right, hearing none, you'll be voting on the adoption of a resolution granting the final plat approval for McCormick West Division 12, Phase 2. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the plat has been approved. We're at item G, approval of an agreement with the Police Guild representing patrol officers regarding the calculation of overtime. Ms. Lund, this is you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. You might recall seeing one of these agreements a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, with our Teamsters Union. This one involves our Police Patrol Guild. The city regularly and routinely reviews and audits its payroll practices. During one such audit, the city identified an issue with payments for medical insurance opt-out participants. Payroll staff has implemented a process to address this issue and has researched and identified wages owed to affected employees. The city and the guild have been working on this agreement since this issue was discovered and have reached an agreement to pay the affected 3 members, totaling $952.91, pending your approval tonight. And the agreement that the staff is recommending approval has been sent to you under privilege from City Attorney Archer last Friday. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Trenary.
I move to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with the Port Orchard Police Guild representing the patrol officer employees regarding calculation of overtime.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Trenary, a second by Councilmember Rosapepe. Do you have any questions of Ms. Lund? It's pretty straightforward. Just accounting software miscalculations so that we've caught and corrected. So, all right, with no questions, you'll be voting to approve the agreement with the Police Guild representing patrol officers regarding the calculation of overtime. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the agreement is passed. This is a great moment. Here we are almost a year later, and our last business item is the approval of an agreement with our Police Guild representing patrol officers regarding recruitment incentives for new employees hired as lateral peace officers. Ms. Lund.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have indeed been working on this one for a while. This is another agreement with the Police Guild representing patrol officers. In February 2022, we began conversations with the Police Guild related to recruitment incentives for lateral peace officers. As you know, due to the current recruitment market, especially for those lateral officers, incentives have become very commonplace. Unable to reach an agreement with the Guild, in May 2022, you approved Ordinance 019-22, authorizing a $10,000 recruitment incentive upon hire for lateral peace officers, and instructed staff to continue negotiations relating to an additional $5,000 incentive. That incentive would be payable upon probation, and we have reached an agreement with the Guild on that proposal. It would also advance them 40 hours of sick leave and 40 hours of vacation. Again, this agreement has been sent to you under privilege from the city attorney on Friday, and would be happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Rosa Pepe.
Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with the Port Orchard Police Guild representing the patrol officer employees regarding recruitment incentives for lateral peace officers.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Rosa Pepe, a second by Councilmember Chang. And any questions? Go ahead.
This is just fantastic to see. I mean, this dates back to the survey that we sent out to our community, and one of the top two concerns our community had was public safety, and so this was definitely to address that. It's great to see more commissioning happening this evening. Can you just kind of give us an update on where we're at from a staffing perspective, and maybe what's in the pipeline and things yet to come, Chief?
Sure. So we have 3 in background. I just extended a conditional offer to a lateral officer from out of state today. The numbers keep changing because we keep having retirements or things. We do have a retirement anticipated next Friday. That was not unexpected. We knew it was coming. So kind of what's happening is that we gain one and then somebody retires, but that is to be expected. We had a lot of our officers that reached retirement eligibility and stayed with us knowing it would be difficult if they left on time, and they kind of waited until we had hires. I don't want to jinx us. We don't have any anticipated retirements for at least a little while, so I think we're going to start being able to get above treading water. And then we'll see where we go next year, but we've got a number of really good applicants. We do have another board on the 15th of November.
Chief, we really only have, I think, 3 openings. Does that sound right?
It will be 4 with the retirement occurring later this month.
And so we've got a lateral, and the success rate, we might have those that he's got in background.
Yeah.
Maybe 1.
Yeah. So without taking too much time. So yeah, so if we have an oral board, that's usually 8. If everybody shows up, we may get 2 or 3 that go to a chief's interview out of the 2 we'll say 4 out of a chief's interview. Out of the 4, we may have 2 that move to the next step. And if we're really, really lucky, we'll have one of them pass background and the medical and the poly and the psych. We haven't sent anybody to the academy. Well, no, sorry. We did have a couple people go through the academy. On occasion, people will get to the academy and then not be successful. But again, the goal is to make sure we have the right people. I mean, if it gets to a point where it's not the right person, then we're okay being a little underhanded.
We're light
Staffed.
We're light years ahead of where we were, a year ago, and we're getting close. But then we're at, the mayor's budget that you'll see next Tuesday asked for 2 additional officers, so now we've got another hole. But at least it's not as a result of retirement; it's because we're adding to the equation.
And just to stump for our department, the last 4 or 5 that we have hired have looked at what we're doing on social media, looked at the plans and the annual reports, and gone on ride-alongs with our officers and have chosen only to apply at our agency. In my business right now, that is really rare. There are a lot of jobs out there. All of the departments in the entire state are hurting for bodies, and so to have people, instead of doing what I did 20 years ago, which is shotgun my resume and my application out hoping I get hired somewhere, they have the ability to be specific because they can go a lot of different places. And we have people that we have hired that have said, I've only applied here because of what this place is and what it represents. So it's a phenomenal team downstairs, and it's bringing the right people in.
Chief,
Could you elaborate about social media?
Sure, I would encourage all of you, if you have an Instagram account, we're 3 shy of 300 followers as of 10 minutes ago. It's Port Orchard PD WA, or Port Orchard PD. I'll get that for you by the end of the meeting, sir. Yeah, so we try and do at least weekly post on Instagram and get that out pretty widely nationally and internationally. We do have some people internationally that follow us. There'll be another post tonight, so I'll make sure to get that to everyone. It's become a little bit more popular than I thought it was going to be so quickly, so it's fantastic. We post as often as we can to the city's Facebook page. No slight to Public Works, who works incredibly hard, but our police department posts are the most followed on Facebook. And then we work with the clerk's office to make sure that all of our reporting is actually published on our website and onto Facebook. So our annual report, our professional standards report, a lot of the presentations that we provide to council, once you guys have had time to digest them, we put them out for public viewing. We get quite a bit of feedback on that. And then we also do some outreach with our community advisory board, and then they tie us into their social media and a lot of other that. So that's been very, very helpful for getting us out and being able to focus and then focus our recruitment.
Oh, okay. And it's Port Orchard Police Dept. I see it, and I'll join. So
Let
there's
me
one
double
more.
check that, because I know that there's some out there.
Now he only needs 2. Go ahead.
Yeah, they might be imposters. It is Port Orchard Police DEPT.
No underscores. Very nice.
Okay, thank you. Feel free to like everything you can.
No, I was just going to say, here's another tool for the toolbox.
Yes.
So
Yep.
thanks for the staff for keeping this on the forefront.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
All right. Any other questions, comments? You'd be voting on an incentive agreement with the Police Guild representing patrol officers regarding a recruitment incentive for new employees hired as lateral police officers. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agreement is passed. We have no discussion items and council committee reports. I know that utilities met this evening. You have a report for us, Ms. Lucarelli?
I also just wanted, I was distracted in the beginning with computer thing. Did we actually approve the consent agenda? We did, okay. I just wanted to report that there was a scrivener's error in the minutes. Jacardi, thank you. That was it. I just missed that. Okay, so utilities meeting. We discussed the Foster Pilot Project update, which is always a downer, I have to say. It is, regarding water rights. But Mayor Patanzo has done a good job of pushing back, and along with Becky Brown, and we are questioning the model that's being used and the unscientific means that is being used to determine our water rights. It's disconcerting at best, but we're working very hard to make some sense of it and actually get a scientific model. Splash pad retrofit.
Back up to we're also getting a tremendous amount of support from the lobbyist at AWC. Carl Schroeder in particular has been
That's huge.
huge champion for us on
Really,
this front.
it's something very needed in this age when we're trying to accommodate extra housing, et cetera. When we have something that's tying us up like these water rights, this is something that needs to move forward. Splash pad retrofit, Department of Health has been sent the modifications, and we're just waiting to move forward with that, with the hopes that we'll actually do those modifications yet this fall, so that we can open in the spring as promised. We're working with some sewer upgrades. Mostly the upgrades that we're working on are trying to get pipes in the ground as sidewalks, et cetera, improvements are being done elsewhere in the city. We haven't necessarily budgeted for some of these things, but if sidewalks are being put in, we'd like to have some of our infrastructure in at the same time, so we don't have to open those sidewalks up or roads up in the future. And we're working with Water Sewer Storm Compliance Program. That's been something that's been ongoing, and we have a new staff member who's going to be representing us and checking for compliance. So we're looking forward to get moving with that program by the end of the year. Otherwise, that's pretty much the long and short of it. We have another meeting that will be taking place next month, but we haven't determined a date yet.
Right. I see Economic Development and Tourism meets next Monday. Finance is meeting next Tuesday ahead of the work study. Transportation is meeting October 25th. Chimes and Lights is also meeting next week on the 17th. Land Use is on the 19th, so we got a lot of committee meetings coming up here. Lodging tax, I think you guys punted to the 24th.
Yeah, we all met. Unfortunately, at the last minute, we did not have a quorum, and so we rescheduled for the 24th of this month.
Okay, and was there a sewer advisory committee meeting and anything to report there?
We will be having budget ratification coming up. Otherwise, it was pretty much update on the usual equipment.
Okay, that's it for council committees. Mayor, report of the mayor. I think Brandy sent you the invite from KRCC for the legislative reception on November 4th. It'd be nice to have a good showing there. And if you,
November 30th.
November 30th, I'm sorry. November 30th, 4 to 6 p.m. I need to slow down and enunciate. If you let the clerk's office know soon, then they'll get you registered and pay ahead of time versus having to pay at the door and getting reimbursed. Our YouTube channel for September. The chief has not quite 300 followers. Well, we had 1,638 viewers for the city council meetings in September. So while we don't have many people showing up in person here, we do have a number of people either watching us on Zoom and even more so on our YouTube channel, whether it's live or after the fact. Let's see here, personnel policy changes. I have a few of these that as per policy, I'm obligated to report these to the city council, so here I go. We've reviewed and updated language in the city's whistleblower policy and also policies related to police records, and you guys passed some of those items this evening. We've also updated job descriptions for our code enforcement officer and our lead clerk that reflect current practices. And then for our history moments. So you remember us talking about street lights, and I said, we learned something that we want to go, if we can, go with street lights that are approved PSE standards. Well, 50 years ago, our council didn't do that. And they installed a marquee and put some lights on it. And after the fact, we're informed by PSE in 1972 that the lights on the marquee are non-standard, so they won't be supported by Puget Sound Energy, supported or maintained. And so I was talking to Tony about that earlier today, and to this 50 years later, we're still maintaining those lights. So next time, we're going to try to avoid that. So 75 years ago, in 1947, the sale of the barracks building on the grounds of Central Playfield, and now that's called Clayton Park today. It used to be called Central Playfield, and it was brought before the council for the successful bidder to remove the building and then clean up the debris within 30 days of the barracks. Evidently, they were housing soldiers during the war up there in the park. And 100 years ago, in 1927, the city council directed the clerk to write Charles Kemlinger to notify him that there is no parking allowed on our town's streets overnight. So evidently that was a problem when automobiles were coming about and people were leaving them on the streets. So we had to the clerk had to write a letter. So that is my mayor's report for this evening. Department heads. Mr. Lang, you got anything to share with us tonight?
Sure. The last day of the skid steer rental was yesterday, so we finished up some mill and fill paving. Very proud of the crew this year. They've done over 80 tons of paving, crack sealing, probably 10,000 pounds of crack sealing. So moving forward, hopefully we can get a few more weeks of good weather and we can continue to do some crack sealing before it really gets bad and we transition into snow and ice operations. Oh, the other good thing was AWC reached out for the replacement cost of that skid steer. They're going to give us an extra $24,000. They did some revamping of their assessment or something like that. And additional $24,000 in addition to the $12,000 that they were going to get us. So, thank you.
Tony has a new skid steer in the budget, so you don't have to rent one next year.
Correct. Yes. Hopefully, we get it before we have to do paving operations next year.
All right. Thanks for your report, Tony. Ms. Lund?
I have nothing for tonight. Thank you.
Archer?
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Chief Brown?
I do have two things. I figure I'll just save all of my stuff and just do it in one big council. Again, we want to thank council for supporting the body-worn camera program. We had our first training on October 4th. Had our rep from Arizona fly up and trained the entire department with the exception of the people that had actually worked that day. We are working, we've done a series of training videos where I've run around and gone to talk to people in the office or gone out in the parking lot so that our staff can practice the redaction software. It's actually incredibly powerful. It recognizes faces, recognizes computer screens, it recognizes license plates. So we've got our professional staff working on that. We anticipate probably about another week to 10 days before we do a full deployment, but we want professional staff ready to go before the officers do it because there's a lot more work in the back end. And then we'll probably be bringing, if not by the end of the year, in the first part of the year, a virtual server that will be hosted by Kitsap 911 that will allow us to what's called auto tagging. So it's even, to use a slightly derogatory term, cop-proof to link the videos to calls for service or cases. And then I also wanted to commend staff downstairs. So our state organization, the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, has partnered with Dr. Mitch Javidi, who I forget the university he is at currently, I apologize, but he's set up what's called the Command Leadership Series. And it's actually a college level course, bachelor's level course that provides 6 college credits that are recognized by almost every public university in the country, to include ours, Western, POU, UW, Central, I guess I'll say Wazoo, but that's fine. But provides college credits for officers that take these courses. There's 48 different courses. They are not, I've started them as well. They are not light courses. They require a lot of reading, significant lectures, and then papers that are graded by the deputy chief and myself. All of our command staff, this is also provided free through a grant through WASPIC. All command staff, so all of our sergeants have signed up. They did so voluntarily. Half of our professional staff have signed up, and we have several officers who are also interested in promoting, have also signed up, and this is all on their own time. So I, again, want to commend the officers downstairs for wanting to improve themselves professionally and personally in taking that extra time. So that's all I have.
Janine's been doing double duty, back room out here. Do you have anything from the clerk's office?
Nothing to report, but I did want to say the Port Orchard Police Department Instagram page is up just to make the police chief happy. And it does say 297 followers.
We just need 3 more, so go ahead and jump on there.
But yeah, nothing to report. Thank you.
I see item 13 is an executive session. Would anybody like to have one? Attorney says no, so we'll move on. Good of the order, Jay.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, a couple things. One is, don't forget it's flu shot season. Also, there's a new COVID shot for variants. But what I really wanted to say tonight was, for whatever reason, this past week, I seem to have been following or coming, not in contact, but observed numerous City of Port Orchard vehicles, mostly from Public Works. And please pass on, I really appreciate their good driving and that they exhibit, maintaining speeds, etc. It's really appreciated because, quite frankly, a lot of our citizens nowadays have not been doing good driving habits, and that's nice to see from city employees. So, thanks.
Setting a good example, yeah. I did skip citizen comments, so we're going to backtrack there. So no one in the audience. Is there anybody online wishing to address the city council? Use the raise your hand feature.
It doesn't look like we have anybody as an attendee at this time.
All right, so that means no. Any other good of the orders? We are to adjournment at 7:27. You should have added more to the mayor's report.
You know that there's almost nothing that I